Good evening. That's what I feel like at the moment. It's been a few days since the last video, and I've had my children with me, and being into honesty and authenticity, they've been driving me freaking bonkers. They really have. I've gone blurry again. I'm absolutely exhausted, if I'm honest with you. I don't know what's actually got into them. Something's got into them, if you know what I mean. I think it's the whole teenage thing. I mean, obviously, if you're a parent watching this and you've been through the whole teenage phase, please reassure me that at some point it's going to end, because I've got to a point now where I've just given up. And you know what? I'm really happy that I've given up, because I was killing myself in the process, trying to some extent, instill some balance, some reasonableness, some sense, some teachings around cooperation and harmony. And I think what happens when children become teenagers is something just switches off in the head. Something like the whole kind of "there are other people on this planet" button just kind of switches off. And whether it ever gets turned on again, I don't know. I guess maybe a trigger event needs to turn it back on again. But right now, I won't name names. If you hear screaming from upstairs, my eldest daughter is having a Zoom party with a bunch of her mates, which is all good. But she's basically been killing my other two. and literally killing me. So I've been trying to figure out, as a supposed semi-conscious being who practices shamanism and deeper, if you want to call it that, levels of spirituality, who has at some level renounced not necessarily worldly life, but renounced certain attachments to worldly life. Why do I get so pissed off with my kids? And I was really contemplating that today. Oh, and by the way, thanks for joining. This is part 16, I think, of the teachings of the Ashtavakra Gita. And so we've got this lesson tonight, and then we've got one more. And then that's it. But I have had some feedback from various people saying, don't ever come on YouTube again. You're a twat. So, no, only joking. I have had some feedback from people coming on YouTube saying, can you go into further teachings or further depth on certain topics like the shadow, like certain shamanic teachings, that kind of stuff. So, more than happy to do that, and so I will continue as and when I have time and sanity and strength and willpower to continue these videos for anyone who wants to keep watching them, and obviously laughing at me and my suffering, because suffering is liberating. Okay. It really is. I mean, in all truth and reality, I've got a huge amount to be grateful for. My children are amazing children, but for whatever reason, and I think I do know what the reason is. I have lost and I have given up for now the battle against technology. And you've got to pick your battles, otherwise you're going to get drained. Now, why am I suffering so much regarding my children, certain behaviors that my children are exhibiting at the moment? It's because I have expectations, okay? And most people that know me closely and well would know me to have actually quite high, almost OCD type expectations. And when my kids aren't meeting them, I'm not saying all hell breaks loose, but I try to coach, in whichever way I know best at that point in time, to help them raise their consciousness, raise their standards. Okay, raise their standards a little bit. Now, you can't do that. Come to that conclusion. Because having worked in prisons and having kind of spent a little bit of time in an institution like that, it was a great awakener, because people will raise their standards or not, should they choose to, and at their own rate. And standards, again, are, to some extent, quite judgmental. It's okay to want to live a life-enhancing, harmonious, peaceful, joyful, enlightened existence. And that's where I like to be. Okay, I really, really do. I love to be in that space. I love my solitude. I love spending time with my partner, because she likes her solitude too. So we can be two solitude type people together. I like peace, I like quiet, and I like silence. Almost too much. So to some extent, I might be a little bit attached to that. Didn't used to be like that, mind. I've gone from an extremely extrovert phase in my life to almost the opposite polarity of introversion, and maybe I need to try and find the balance a little bit, kind of the middle ground, as the Buddha talks about. I do realize that everything is polarity. So, like we talk in the Ashtavakra teachings, everything is duality, everything is polarity, everything has a subjectivity and an objectivity to it. The clay, the energy that we're all created from is the same, okay? But how that gets molded by whatever energy or consciousness you want to call it, Holy Spirit, Shiva, Great Spirit, Wakantanka, doesn't matter what you want to call it. There's an intelligence, an innateness, an innate intelligence that can bind or create an oxygen molecule and a hydrogen molecule, atom, molecule, to create a water molecule, okay, H2O. What does that? Yeah? How? This isn't random shit, I mean, I having a scientific background, but also having plunged literally into the deep end of a more spiritual life and a spiritual lifestyle, I cannot but conclude that even science is based on a very limited mindset, and it's limited through our senses. Everything we discover or try to understand or rationalize through science is limited through our senses. Even the machines that we create to study things at a microscopic or even quantum level now are limited by our senses, which is why when quantum physics started to rear its cognitive dissonance head, a lot of scientists poo-pooed it because it shot to pieces everything that we know up to this point. All the Newtonian physics, chemistry, certain biological sciences that that are taught in school, that are taught at university level, that we're still doing research on. It's all good stuff. It all helps us understand how the clay is being molded. But what it doesn't do, it doesn't go into the depths of the unseen, into the depths of the unknown, into the trust that we have to fall into when we can't explain things. And we limit ourselves, we place ourselves in boxes because we can't trust things, because we have to know, right, before we do, yeah? Or like you're seeing in the world nowadays. There's a huge polarity going on around multiple topics. Yeah, this whole COVID-19, whatever you want to call it, has created a large amount of shadow, garbage. Well, not garbage, muddied waters, right? Starting to float to the surface, and everyone's opinions and sides and polarities are coming out to play. And it's great. It's great. I mean, I like to get engaged. I like to have a bit of a fight now and then, right? I'm right and you're wrong. Actually, I'm right and you're right. There we are. Let's agree to disagree. Thank you. So, polarities, different opinions on vaccines, 5G, where the bloody virus came from, what it actually does to you, what it does to certain people. Is obesity, does that kind of contribute to it? Does lack of vitamin D3 contribute to it? Can your immune system handle it if you're a healthy person? So on and so on and so forth. And we've got scientists on one side that are saying one thing, and this is mainstream science, and this is the rhetoric that we want everyone to believe and follow. And then we've got some scientists, quite a lot actually, probably more than those scientists, popping up on the other side going, actually, it's the same science, but we're not agreeing on it, right? There's one set of science, or rather, here's the set of science that we're talking about, and this scientist saying one thing, and that scientist isn't. So who's right? Yeah, when there's data showing each side, you can back up each scientist, right? It's a bit like religion, really, isn't it? Lots of different religions arguing over the same thing, yeah? I'm right, you're right. No, you're wrong, I'm right. Oh, we better go to war over this. Get the freaking machine guns out. Crazy, innit? And what creates that? What creates that head-butting stupidity? What creates it is ego, yeah? Because the ego is a frightened little rabbit in the headlights that just wants to be right and adored, okay, and powerful and godly and immortal. That's why it's so fearful of death, because it knows at some point it's going to die. Yeah, it's going to go. Lights out. Zip. Gone. So, expectations, right? When you've got expectations that people are going to behave a certain way, be a certain way, think the same way as you do, act the same way, then a couple of things can happen. One, those expectations, when they're not met, can start to eat away at you. Okay, if you internalize it, they can start to kind of corrode you from the inside, and it can cause things like depression and anxiety and frustration and resentment, and it starts to corrupt your inner world a little bit. It can also create self-pity, poor me, and victimhood. Okay, so again, not great stuff really to be residing in. The other way it can manifest is if there's an out of balance solar plexus chakra, then it can manifest as this kind of power over. You will do my bidding because I'm right and you're wrong, and you've got to meet my expectations. And to an extent, that's what my eldest daughter's been a little bit like, and I know she's mirroring me. I know she's acting as a mirror for me, because I can be like that. I'll put my hand up. If you don't do this, shit's going to happen. Yeah, I strongly suggest you do. Now, there was a point in time where I used to try and make people, do what I thought was good for them. And, I soon learned that created even more suffering. Only because at some level you do it because you care, but you're not doing it the right way. You're not balancing the energy. You're not creating a balance in energy within you, which can then be communicated to an individual to allow them free will and free choice. So I've kind of, over the years, gone from having my expectations, honoring my own expectations through my own actions, trying to teach by example the best way I can. Now, I have turned my life upside down, inside out, whatever. I mean, there's been some crazy shit's gone on in my life, right? So I've gone from high expectations to very low expectations, back to high expectations, and to some extent I needed to descend. I needed to fall really into the pits of hell in order to really understand how easy it is to get there and how difficult it is to kind of do the work to pull yourself out. But it is doable, and it takes courage, and it takes willpower, and it takes some help. Okay, sometimes it takes the help of some teachers. Sometimes it takes the help of unseen powers, forces in your life, which, if you are humble and in your power, you can then ask to guide you. Call it Christ if you want, call it whatever you call it, light, call it that innate intelligence that can start to work through you if you surrender your ego or your need that your ego has for control. Okay, because the ego doesn't know everything, right? It doesn't know anything really. So expectations, when they're turned outwardly, when you try to force your will over people, it never turns out pleasantly, okay? Because a lot of people will just go, I don't want to do that. Well, actually, I'm quite happy in my own skin being who I am, which is fine, which is great. Because when you're coming from a self-righteous, pedestalized, judgmental position, which I have done in the past, come from pedestalized, self-righteous, judgmental positions in my life, then you seem to be a bit of a twat, really. And, I'll hold my hand up. I've been a bit of a twat in the past. So, but it's good because you learn. Some people don't, but I chose to learn from that experience. And so you're getting into this whole kind of expectation thing where, for example, my daughter is imposing her will over my son, who's a few years younger than her and a bit smaller. And she's imposing her will through quite assertive and aggressive means, let's just say. So my tendency then is to jump in and rescue my son, which isn't a good thing to do because I'm trying to teach him to stand up for himself. So my eldest is being a good teacher to him at the moment, but he doesn't see it like that. He's too young to see, to understand the dynamics, the psychological and metaphysical dynamics that are going on between their relationship and what she's actually helping him do. So I'm trying now to pull back, allow the chaos to happen, and then have a quiet word with my son afterwards and say, look, maybe you'd like to think about things this way. And some of it goes in and some of it doesn't. And then the next time it comes around, boom, off we go again. But every now and then I see a little glimmer of light in his eyes because he can see what's happening. He still hasn't managed to get a grip on the emotions and bring in some of the intellect into the emotional state that he gets in sometimes when my eldest daughter wants to feed off him, what's ever in her, right? But he's getting there, which is great. And similarly, I've been trying to talk to my daughter about understanding how power dynamics work. But to some extent, she hasn't got the ears to hear right now, so she doesn't want to know. And I'm going to have to accept that. I have to set boundaries, I have to discipline the best way I can, but sometimes you've just got to let these things play out with minimal collateral damage to the house. Okay, so I've been doing a lot of letting things play out, and it's given me lots of headaches, and I've been quite upset at times by the whole thing, but some people choose to learn the hard way, right? And the only reason you have expectations is probably because you've been down the hard route and you know how painful it can be, and you don't really want to see other people having to go through it. Yeah? But most people have to go through it, unfortunately. You know, we maybe, I don't know, maybe we're reaching a point in our evolution where we can wake up to the fact that we don't actually need to suffer, okay, to evolve. But I still think we're quite a way off that, judging by what's happening with this whole virus thing at the moment. Still a lot of people suffering, a lot of people in their heads, a lot of people, you know, in fear and not in their power in the whole situation. Which is the where we are really right now as a humanity, and I'm trusting that we're going to evolve through this. It's every challenging situation has a reason and a meaning. It helps this stuff come up. It helps the debate. It helps if a fisticuff has to happen, it has to happen. If a war has to happen, it's got to happen. Yeah, if we need 10 freaking world wars to learn, then maybe we'll learn. But maybe we won't. Okay? Maybe we won't. And that would be a grand shame. It really would. It would be a grand shame. I am seeing more people waking up now, though, to the power dynamics, which has kept them small and disempowered for such a long period of time. Okay? The demons know how to play a good game. They know how to coerce. They know how to manipulate. They know exactly where your vulnerabilities lie. And they will exploit them to extract every ounce of juice they can from you. So that's why it's so important to go within and understand yourself. Know thyself beautifully. Don't judge thyself. Know thyself. So you know where your vulnerabilities are. You know where you can work to develop strength, the art of detachment, clarity, and balance and poise in every situation in life. Okay? You know, I've talked about this a lot. Karma isn't about what happens to you. That's not karma. Okay? Life can be pretty shit at times. Life can be a freaking roller coaster, right? We live in an entropic, material, chaotic existence. Okay? This universe tends towards entropy. The only thing that maintains unity and gravity within the situation, within the universe, is spirit, light. Okay? So the more light there is, the more order typically there is within systems. Okay? So you've always got this kind of pulling apart. You've got the entropic demonic realm wanting to go one way, and you've got the kind of the heavenly realm pulling the other way, and there's this constant kind of push-pull effect, and that's happening within us as well, within our psychological frameworks, within our multiple levels of psyche, of soul. Yeah. So the true battle is inside you. The true battle is within you. Okay. So anyway, expectations. So it's okay to have expectations. Well, I've found it's okay to have expectations. It's not okay to have to impose your expectations on others to the extent that you suffer when you're not seeing other people. To be honest with you, I have an attachment to my children. It's natural. And, you know, I want the best for them. And I want to see them thrive and do really well in life. And grow as souls. Okay, I'm not so concerned about the personalities and the you know, the physical side of things. Although the healthy body, healthy mind, all that kind of stuff. But I really want to see them, you know, develop their souls and bring more of their souls gifts through. Which I'm not seeing at the moment, really. Occasionally I do, but like I said, I am losing the battle against these technological devices, which are grabbing so much of their attention. And if I could kick myself for anything that I've chosen to do in this life, it wouldn't have been to have made some of my past mistakes. It would have been to have bought them bloody mobile phones. Because they're a bloody curse. And the more, people are talking now globally about AI and all this kind of stuff, the more we start to literally merge with these machines, okay, the more we are going to lose our souls, the more we're going to kill our souls. That's what Christ talked about. All right, I don't care what tradition you're from. Yeah, when you examine the Gnostic teachings within the Bible, within the Nag Hammadi scrolls, within the Pistis Sophia, within a number of Kabbalistic traditions, a number of shamanic traditions as well, they all point towards a demise of consciousness within humanity. Okay, an apocalyptic, in the sense of a destructive phase or cycle, which, if we head down this technological route, will happen more quickly as we start to plug implants into us and plug into computers and upload consciousness into machine clouds of computer AI. God, imagine that. Imagine, and I don't even want to imagine. It makes me sick to think about it. Sticking a bloody microchip in your brain, right? Which, through some crazy ass intelligence science, right, allows you to download your personality and consciousness into a cloud-like matrix where you exist forever. That would be torture. that would be torture. Because eventually you'd get bored. And you'd want to die. You'd be craving death. You really would be craving peace. But you wouldn't have any. Think about that for a bit. So when Elon Musk talks about brain implants and all this kind of stuff, it's happening quicker than most people would like to think. And do what you want, but understand the consequences. So I've gone from having expectations to trying to walk my talk, lead by example, to teaching in a way which isn't forceful. It's like, do you know what? In my experience, when I've done this has happened. Be it positive or negative, right? Being able to kind of see the string theory a bit in what you're about to do, yeah? And having had certain levels of experience, this is what could happen. Make your choice. I don't care what choice you make, yeah? But it takes a while to learn that art of detachment. When I'm doing rune readings, it's like, I always tell the client, the runes don't really care about you, okay? They're just gonna point you into understanding the directions that you're flowing in and where certain unconscious, subconscious patterns, thought processes, attachments, beliefs and mindsets and emotional states of being are affecting your choice-making process, affecting your web, yeah, how you're vibrating the web. And then what you can therefore potentially expect to manifest. And so it can help provide a little bit of clarity to that extent. It's, the power is in your hands, ultimately. So you must never give your power away to any readers or anyone who gives you advice, because by doing that, again, you're in danger of being too submissive in that type of relationship and then potentially going to victimhood when things go horribly wrong. no one actually knows fully, all right, what's right for you apart from you. And that's when you've really got to get into your intuition, okay? There are people like me that work in certain fields that you might want to call spiritual, shamanic, therapeutic, that can help guide, okay? I always say again, I don't give you advice, I'll give a bit of guidance. The guidance I can give you is based on my intuition and also my experience. So it comes from knowledge, a depth of knowledge, but it also comes from a gut feel and an intuitive ability, which I've taken me a long time to develop. I'm not saying it's there 100%, it's got a long way to go, but you got to start somewhere, and you've got to have some confidence that you're moving in the right direction. So when you're on this path and there's all this chaos going on, there is a tendency to hook into a certain rhetoric or hook into a person that might seem to think they know what they're talking about, or to hook into something that makes you feel safe and comfortable, just because that makes you feel safe and comfortable. Being the awkward bugger that I am, I tend to hook into the people that make me feel unsafe and uncomfortable. Okay, not necessarily hook in, but I sometimes, when I'm on my phone and Wendy's with me, and I'm showing, oh, look at this, look what's happening here, look at Bill Gates, look at all this stuff going on. She's going, oh, no, I don't want to know about that. And I said, okay, I get it, yeah? Because sometimes it can be a bit meaty and a bit too heavy, right? But I've always been one for getting out of my comfort zone in order to grow, okay? In order to either prove to myself that I'm wrong, okay? Or that that I need to find a different path or way, or to actually learn some more depth from the experience. So, pain is a good teacher, right? I'm not a masochist, but I don't like to get too comfortable. Okay? Got to stay on your toes, like a boxer, yeah? Ducking and weaving, throwing the odd right, left hook, little uppercut, getting whacked, flat on the mat, nose bleeding. It's happened to me a few times. Okay? But always getting up again. Yeah? Always getting up again for another beating.